This is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
Bonjour.
Magsy. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. Royal Rumble weekend. Did you watch the show?
No, was it Royal Rumble? No, I didn't know it were on. Of course, I bloody watched it. It was amazing.
You enjoyed it, yeah?
It's Royal Rumble is always for me the best pay-per-view of the year. Even a crap Rumble is still better than a very good Night of Champions. It's just I love the Royal Rumble.
That's fair.
I just love the Royal Rumble. And I think this year's, whilst it wasn't the most exciting in terms of surprises and things like that, I think it did exactly what it needed to do. It wasn't as boring as the recent Royal Rumbles. It wasn't as ruined, I suppose, by one person's dominance in as other Royal Rumbles. I thought they were both really decent Rumbles.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. The women's Rumble was good. I thought the men's Rumble was excellent as well. The main event of the show I thought was great. Reigns, Owens, I really enjoyed that.
The best storyline that we have had in wrestling in the longest time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a doubt. It's fantastic. Sami Zayn is just brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, is by far the best wrestler alive today. Not in terms of like in ring. I mean, in ring is brilliant.
I was going to say wrestler. That's a step.
In terms of like the whole package of storytelling and character work, he's been on fire for 2 years. Like doing the whole conspiracy theory and like carrying the Intercontinental title and then all this stuff with the bloodline. It's been amazing, absolutely amazing.
I mean, think as well, back to WrestleMania, the match with Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, how fun was that?
Yeah.
More fun than it had any right to be.
Yeah, fair play, Sami Zayn. Absolute star, man. Absolute star.
Yeah, and then we got Hulkster back, and he's going to WrestleMania.
Yeah, got a point at the sign. Got a point. Are you a Cody Rhodes fan?
As a wrestler, I think he's fair to middling. He gets labelled a 3-star wrestler, and I think that in terms of in-ring is fair. As a businessman, I cannot fault him whatsoever. I mean, he had the balls to bet on himself, walk away from a very lucrative offer because he knew there was more for him out there in the wrestling world, and he's come back into the fold and he's headlining WrestleMania, something that even his dad never did. So it helps him get out of that long shadow that he's struggled with for all his career of being in the shadow of Dusty. And I think he's a superstar. He's an absolute superstar.
Is he beating Roman at WrestleMania?
I think he may win one belt.
Interesting. But hey, we've been talking wrestling far too long. This isn't the wrestling section of the show.
All your wrestling stuff out of the way in the first 3 minutes.
This isn't the wrestling section of the show. This isn't even the non-wrestling section of the show. This is supposed to be the beginning of the show, Maxie.
The preamble.
The preamble
for everybody to wander in.
And they have. So let's begin the show, shall we? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production. I am Si. And with me, as always, is the booker to my hooker. I mean, I've got a mate I know who plays rugby. Nothing untoward there. So I see straight away the expression on your face, young Mr. Mags. He is the work to shoot to my legal dispute. More on that later on. Oh, it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting. A podcaster who would happily lay down for any man if the money was right. Lord Mags himself. It's lovely to see your little face again, my friend.
So if I'm the booker to your hooker, does that make me your pimp? Am I your godfather and you're one of my whores?
I'm a hoe, yes.
Click that, somebody.
Oh dear. I meant more from the aspect of Booker T, who we're talking about later on. But what you said works as well. It works as well. So
it works arguably better.
It does. And if anything, I should have tried to pass this off as that's what I meant. But no, I'm far too honest a professional podcaster to. I just didn't
Honest,
think
yes.
of it.
Professional, absolutely not.
Without that, I turned up 5 minutes forward due to record today, and didn't even have one of the segments properly sorted.
The same segment, folks, that our message say about close to end of the week, and Sar replied with, "Oh, I forgot about that. I best do it now." And then when I called him a pillock, he just sent me a thumbs up picture of him in work, which was nice.
It was kind of like that. Very busy man, mate. I'm a very busy man. Shall we see who's joining us in the chat, my friend, before we move on with this new segment and all the other fun shenanigans we have planned?
Absolutely. We've got a packed house again today. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have as much fun as we're going to have. But we'll start with Connor. He says, "Hello, Mags. I just wanted to let you guys know and the CWF know that he interviewed for on Friday and got the call saying that he's the new voice of Mount Vernon Nazarene University starting this fall. So absolutely well done. We all were 100% behind you. We knew you could do it. So, yeah, that's amazing news, Connor. Well done, mate.
Yeah, good stuff.
King's Pigs Bladder saying, well done, Connor. That's awesome. And then Evening Gents and Gentsesses. Sharon breaks her habit of a lifetime saying, well done, Connor, before saying it's Monday. You know what that means.
I was worried for a second then that she hadn't put it. And I'm not going to lie, there are certain aspects of this show that, shall we say, are, I suppose, on one hand, you can argue it's tradition. On the other hand, you could argue fucking repetitive. I'm happy either way. But it's
wow, we're continuing the snarkiness between the Powells on this show.
Right. But Sharon saying it's Monday night, you know what that means? If she hadn't have put that, it would have drove my OCD mad to the point where I'd have been messaging her and saying, you've got to put it in the chat.
And it would have thrown you as well. You would have got the segments wrong. Because I know how that is when something doesn't go exactly in the routine, you get all flustered.
I could think on my feet, mate. I'm good enough. I can do that.
Okay.
No problem.
Back to the comment. Mark Wrestling Jeebus, evening all. Hello, sir. How are you? Charlie in the chat. Hopefully, I think you said that she was feeling a little bit poorly over the weekend, so hopefully feeling a bit better. Scottish Dan in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? Dan Griffin. Evening, folks. Anyone still dying after Saturday night? So, for context, there was a little meet up with some of our good friends in the wrestling Twitterverse. They went to of all exotic places. They went to Leeds to have a Royal Rumble watch along. From all reports, everybody had fun. So, yeah, that's good. I wish I was able to go. Maybe next time. Sharon excited about the Cody win. Benny Mack in the building. Hey, yo. How are you, sir? Charlie also excited about the Cody win. Big Cody fans in the Powell household.
Charlie loves Cody.
Sharon says, hello, CWF. Dan Griffin says, the only good thing about Cody winning that it wasn't Logan effing Paul. And yeah, I dislike Logan Paul as much as the next man, but that spot with him and Ricochet,
that looked amazing, didn't it?
That was glorious.
The timing of that, absolutely superb.
Yeah. Charlie again saying she loves Cody, and then Benny wants to know what it says on my cup, and it says there, Mags loves big dicks. Big dicks coffee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
King's Pigs Ladder says Dan loves Cody. Benny saying, can Saz beard get any bigger, even? It's
not actually the biggest that it's ever been. There's before my hair was this long, my beard was like where the length was. I suppose it was down to it was a big old beard, but it was longer than this. But it does need a bit of a tidy up, Sha. Magsy coughing and dying again on a Monday.
I know. Colds. I'm just riddled with him recently.
Coughing again. That bloody hell. It's only on a Monday. It's only on a Monday.
It is.
It'll be all right tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Mark says he's still dying after Saturday. 3 wrestling shows this weekend and a Royal Rumble watch along as well. but was so damn enjoyable, and that's amazing. Yeah, it is absolutely. And wrestling, for as niche and like argumentative the community can get, there's no better than going to a wrestling show with a bunch of mates and just having a jolly good laugh.
Yeah, totally.
Benny Mac calling me Godfather Mags. Well, I mean, yeah, that is also true. Sharon, get on the whole train. Jesus Christ, I'll be coughing again in a minute. This bloody mouse. King's Plug Banner says if Dan was approached by Cody to have a threesome with him and Brandy, he'd still say no. Yeah, because he's got standards as Dan Griffin. Definitely got standards. Cam in the chat as well saying evening CWF. Congrats, Connor. That's absolutely great news. Sharon said she actually broke protocol last week as well by doing the same thing. Yeah, but we only noticed it this week.
Yeah,
so
we didn't know. We're too oblivious.
Last week didn't happen. Charlie's saying feeling better, but her throat is still bad. Keeps coughing. Yeah, I know the feeling on Mondays where I cough all of the time. Dan Griffin says he got that pissed he fell asleep during the Women's Rumble and woke up after the main event.
Oh my goodness.
That's grim.
Where was that? Grim. In the pub? You fell asleep in the pub?
I assume so. I'm sure he'll let us know.
Fantastic.
Benny Mac saying in the YouTube chat for the first time, and more than welcome, sir. Glad to have you here. Sharon said, Dan, I did exactly the same. Margaret knocked her out. Oh, wow. You missed a good Royal Rumble. Sharon, I have loads of sympathy for them this year. Loads of them this year, so you have my sympathy. Benny Mac says, I think Sar's t-shirt makes his beard look bigger. If anything, it hards his beard.
There we go. That's the actual size of it there. There we go.
Dan says, yep, he was asleep on a stool in the pub. And Morty confirms it was next to me. He fell asleep and occasionally opened his eyes, stroked my arm, and went back to sleep. Oh, that is the cutest. That is well lovely, cute, isn't it? I just picture him with his thumb in his mouth like that, just
stroking
fast
Morty.
Asleep. Yeah, I mean, stroking Morty. Jesus Christ, that's nightmare fuel.
It is indeed.
So that is anyway. Hello, Morty. How are you, sir?
Yes. Hello, Mort. Hello. A quick shout out to Benny Mac, who's joined us in the YouTube chat tonight. Fantastic work with In the Corner on the SJP World Media Network, covering WWE, especially over this Royal Rumble weekend. It's been absolutely superb. We've had preview shows. We've had shows recapping Raw 30 with Tyler Peters. We've had talks about your greatest moments in the history of Monday Night Raw, and then a Raw Rumble preview, and now a Raw Rumble reaction show that has come out tonight. And then we will have more from Benny and Tyler as well, looking at Raw and SmackDown. The amount of effort and work going into these shows are fantastic. Check them out on the main feed and on the In the Corner own feed via SGP World Media. Definitely worth it. I mean, the Raw Rumble review show actually came out about 45 minutes or so ago, so download that, check it out later tonight or tomorrow morning or whatever. Give it a listen. It's fast becoming one of my favorite podcasts, Magsy. It's so good.
All the content on the network are just doing absolute bits. Really, a really hard-working team putting out quality content all the time. So yeah, definitely go and check it out.
Yeah, it's great stuff, mate. It's great stuff. So then I suppose now normally we throw to the Hall of Lame, don't we? And we induct a couple of nonsense bullshit gimmicks or storylines or match types or whatever. But as we discussed last week, we're going to do something slightly different. And if you're listening on the podcast audio version later in the week, you will hear a lovely made brand new jingle. If you're joining us live on the YouTube,
I forgot that as well.
I didn't forget that, actually. I've been incredibly busy. Thank you very much. So it's not going to be appearing on this show just yet, but it will do next week or the week after, because we're going to alternate, Magsy, aren't we? We're going to alternate for a new segment and the Hall of Lame, back and forth. And the new segment also gives people the opportunity going forward via Twitter and so on, when we ask for them, for you to join in with questions as well, because the new segment is entitled Mags v. Cy.
I'm
It's
going
a
to
very-
insert this first because you didn't provide the music.
Pimple Dick Alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
That's just for you, sir.
So
You're
I'm this week's Pimple Dick. Okay,
You,
fair enough.
you are this. You are this week's Pimple Dick.
Yes. So the format for this initial, I suppose, segment, episode, initial try at Mags v Sci is we've both devised 5 questions. 5, Magsy, yes. What it was definitely 5.
It was 5, yes. How many
Yeah.
did you think 5 meant?
At 1 minute past 9, considering we go live at 9 p.m., I was still not convinced it was 5, and I thought you had said 3. So I was writing down 2 more questions, literally as we were discussing who was in the chat.
Wow.
But I've got my 5, and they are Royal Rumble based, aren't they? Please tell me that's fucking correct.
Yeah, Royal Rumble, obviously
Right.
with the Royal Rumble this past week. Whenever there's a big wrestling event, it makes sense to have themed rounds, I suppose. So it just made sense for it to be Royal Rumble based.
I find this really difficult.
What, to find questions about the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I was talking to Sharon about it earlier, and I basically said I find it really difficult because there's some really random, obscure bullshit that I could put into a question, but it would almost be unfair because it would be stupidly difficult.
Yeah,
so it's trying
I
to
get
make
that.
it, it's trying to make it difficult enough to give you something to think about, but at the same time not make it so freaking easy that you absolutely dick me at this every week.
I mean, it's as we said last week, I have got wrestling amnesia.
Okay.
Wrestling Alzheimer's even.
Wrestling
I don't
Alzheimer's.
remember. I have to rewatch wrestling that I watched the day before. Like if I plan to watch the topic we're going to cover on a Sunday, I'll still have to watch it again on the Monday because I forgot what I watched on the Sunday.
I'm not
So-
that bad.
So you may think it's likely you'll win.
I don't know. But shall we
Well-
begin?
We shall.
We're going to go penalty shootout style, you said, didn't we? Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, we are alternating questions.
Alternating. Yeah, I know words. So, who's going first, Mags?
Well, it's Mags versus Sar, so I suppose I better field the first question.
Go on, then, mate. Go on. Then.
So, question 1, and now you'll have to keep score.
I've got
Who-
I've got it written down here to keep score with, and people in the chat, no shout tonight.
So, question 1: who holds the record for being a Royal Rumble Iron Man with the shortest amount of ring time?
Oh, so the person who's lasted the longest in a particular rumble, but his
With the
time is the shortest.
Yes, that's correct.
There's 2 that come to mind. I'm gonna go with Greg Valentine.
Good. It's a good guess because I think he was the second shortest.
Okay.
The answer is John Cena. In 2010, he lasted a massive 22 minutes.
See, I said I had 2 in mind, and Greg Valentine, you say, wasn't a bad shout. John Cena would never have entered my mind at all.
Really?
Yeah, never in a million years.
Anyway, you've started as you mean to go on
Yes.
with no points.
This could very well end up a draw with us both being 0-0.
0-0. Just
Right,
permanent 0-0 draws.
My first question. In 1998, Mick Foley famously entered the Royal Rumble on 3 times with his different characters. But in which order do those characters enter?
Okay. So 2 of them was relatively late. I think it was Cactus, then Mankind, then Dude Love.
Oh, well done, Magsy. That's some knowledge. That is
See,
spot on
look
the
at that.
money.
The wrestling amnesia hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah,
Because he started, it come in relatively early as Cactus, didn't he? And he was in for a little bit. And then
Cactus was number 1, wasn't it? I think.
was that Mankind like number 23, and then Doodle was like 27 or something like that.
So, see, you're there going, I got wrestling amnesia, and you're very close to naming the actual numbers as well. So pressure's on already, mate. I'm one down already. The pressure's on.
Okay, so the answer to this one actually changed due to the Royal Rumbles that happened this week.
Oh Christ! I was
so-
drinking on Saturday, mate. I can't remember nothing.
So this I think you'll get. I think you will get this one.
Okay.
So name all the Royal Rumble winners that started that year's Royal Rumble match.
What, every Royal Rumble since it's began?
Mhm.
And I've got to get all of them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. To be fair, I'll give you a leeway of one.
Okay.
So there has been 2, 4, 6. So you have to get 5 out of the 6.
Six wrestlers that have
And
gone in at number 1 or number 2 or number 1.
Number 1 or number 2, yes.
Right. Okay. Shawn Michaels in 95.
Correct.
Rey Mysterio came in at number 2.
He did in 2006.
Obviously, Rhea Ripley was.
That was the one that
Yep.
changed the question. Yep. So that's 3.
Bianca
so
Belair 1 and 2.
Bianca Belair is not one of it.
Okay. Benoit won it in 2004.
He did. So you've got to get one more.
Jeez.
And these are the 2. Well, no, you'd have got the Shawn Michaels one. I would have thought that you would have got these 2 very easily. This is great audio, by the way.
Oh my goodness!
I can smell the brains. Like
I'm going to kick
heated
myself,
up.
aren't I? I'm going to absolutely kick myself. Oh my god! I'm stumped. I really am.
Sharon is desperate to tell you an answer. Is that you passing?
I'm going to have to, mate. I'm absolutely stumped.
Well, to get 4, I think that deserves half a point.
Thank you.
But the other 2, the most recent one was Edge in 2021.
Fucking hell. I even thought Edge for a moment and I was like, no.
And then the other one was Vince McMahon in 1999.
Of course it was. Came in at number 2, didn't he? Because Austin was number 1.
Yeah, because he tried to give himself number 30
Yeah.
and he was told, no, you will be number 2.
What? Oh, man. And do you know what? That's the kind of shit that I know and can normally list off without an issue. But now the pressure is on.
Yeah. Well, you deserve half a point for nailing 4 of the 6.
Oh, cheers, mate. I appreciate that. I'll put down my 0.5. Thank you. You mentioned on a previous question about Ironmans in Rumbles and so on. It's no secret. One of my favorite Royal Rumbles was 1992 when Ric Flair won it with a time of over an hour. Who was the second longest competitor in that Rumble?
Oh, there was. Because was it not the Bulldog?
Oh no, it was not, mate. It was not. The Bulldog lasted like 20 minutes or so. The second longest was Roddy Piper, who surprisingly lasted.
Do you know, in my brain was saying, I'm sure it's Roddy Piper. I'm sure it's Roddy Piper. And then I talked myself out of it because just the Bulldog is normally one of those people who are there and thereabouts with.
Yeah, he was in it for a long time, the Bulldog, because he came in at number 2, the Bulldog, I think, or number 1. He was there with DiBiase at the start anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway,
Okay.
Never mind. Onwards and upwards. Question 3 for you. Who was the last Royal Rumble winner that didn't go on to WrestleMania and win a world title?
Oh my god. This has done me again. Man. The last Royal Rumble winner not to go on and win a world title. Oh dear. I'm gonna. Oh, was it Del Rio?
Close. I think that was the year before.
Okay.
It was Triple H in 2016.
Right. I wouldn't have got that. I wouldn't. Is that the year he won the title itself in the Rumble?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's a bit of a trick question, you sneaky bastard.
Whoa!
That was actually for the title.
Well, I mean, it's the way the dice rolls.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Okay, my third question then. I'm on my third one, aren't I? Yes. This year's winner of the Men's Rumble was obviously Cody Rhodes.
Mhm.
When was the last Royal Rumble he appeared in?
Is it? It's going to be 2017?
Oh, very close, Magsy, very close. It was 2016.
Ah!
The same one you were just talking about, mate. The same one you were just talking about.
Oh well, never mind. I'm still in the lead
by half a point.
Yeah,
It's
half
close,
a point.
mate, it's close.
You win whether it's by a millisecond or a mile. Question 4. Ric Flair famously won the 1992 Royal Rumble, and alongside that, he won the WWF title. But can you name the 3 wrestlers that he eliminated by himself? So he was involved in quite a few eliminations where other people helped him, but he only eliminated 3 people by himself. Who are they?
This is going to be complete punts now. There's no way on earth I'm going to get this. I'm going to shout at the Bulldog.
Yep, correct.
I'm going to see. My mind goes to Piper, but I know it wasn't because I think Sid did Piper. Oh man, this is going to be so tricky. I'm trying to think baby faces, but I can't. You've got me. Absolutely got me. Nah, Bulldog's the only one I can think of.
So it was the Texas Tornado.
Would never have got it, mate.
And the Big Boss Man.
This is a seat. Would never have got it in a million years. What a question. Why? And for my favourite Rumble as well. I've seen that so many times.
Oh, well. So still in the lead.
You are indeed. You are indeed. What are we on now? My question 4?
Yep.
Okie doke. Quite straightforward. Iron Man subject again. Who lasted the longest in 1993?
Oh. I mean, wasn't that the Rumble where they shortened the entrance times as well?
I don't know, was it?
You're an arsehole. That was the Bob Backlund year. It's Bob Backlund, I think.
It was. Well done, Magsy.
He came in at like 2, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, something like that. And he lasted close to an hour, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Magsy, you've won then, haven't you?
Well, I mean,
there you go. Look at that.
This isn't exactly like a penalty shootout because we'll still do 5 questions each.
Okay. So what are we on now? Your last question, yes?
So yeah, my question number 5. So the 1999 Royal Rumble, the theme song for that was "No Chance in Hell."
Mm-hmm.
That was a track that Vince would appropriate for his own theme music. But what was the first pay-per-view that Vince would use that track as his entrance music? This is a softball. This is a softball.
Really? Is it really? Is it St. Valentine's Day Massacre then?
It's the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Right. Fair enough.
See, the very next pay-per-view.
Right.
He liked it that much, he stole it straight away.
So I've got 1.5 out of 5, mate. Fuck, that is terrible, isn't it? That is terrible. Okay, final question then, Magsy. Oh my goodness, my side. Final question then. The first Royal Rumble, 1988.
Mm-hmm.
What match opened the card?
Oh my good lord. It'll be something incredibly terrible. Like Coco Beware. Him versus One Man Gang. Oh no, One Man Gang was in the Rumble.
Oh, yeah, he went into the last 2, wasn't he? I think. Is that
right? Yeah, I'm going to go with Coco Beware versus the Warlord.
It was not.
Shock.
It was Ravishing Rick Rude versus Ricky Steamboat, mate.
Oh wow, that's a great match.
It is, because I put it on the other day, thinking I'm going to watch a Royal Rumble before I go to sleep, and that match came on first. I was like, no way! I don't think I've ever seen this before.
I'm not skipping to Jim Duggan winning a Rumble when I could watch this.
There you go. So, Magsy, you win the first edition of Mags v Sci. 2 points to 1.5. Fantastic work, fantastic questions. Absolutely stumped me. And with some of them, stumped me to the point where I'm quite frustrated because I think I should know those.
It's the pressure of just being live and having the questions thrown at you. No thinking time.
There you go, mate. There you go. But that we said that's going to be an alternate week with Hall of Fame going forward. There are going to be ways that we're going to get people to send questions in for that. Ways we're going to get people to read questions out to us and so on. There's plenty of plans going forward. That was just the first edition of Mags versus Sci. It's another aspect of the show where we want you involved where possible. We always say this show is your show. I mean, the non-wrestling topic is you guys telling us what you think. The match we review is where you vote for us to go. So wherever possible, we're going to try and get people involved. We even talked, Maxie, didn't we, about people sending in options for the Hall of Fame in the future as well, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like I said, this is their show. We're just the poor saps that are the faces of it. But yeah, this show is all about you guys.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Shall we scan through the chat very quickly before we dive into this week's non-wrestling topic, Magsy?
Well, the chat, whilst we were quizzing each other, went on conversations of their own, so they may not make the lick of sense. But let's go straight back. Mort first says that if the tune is Ben's word of the week, he's going to sue. So you'll have to change that up very soon.
That song, by the way, I love it and hate it in equal measures because I think it's one of the best jingles on podcasts or radio today. It is catchy, it is funny, it's brilliant, and it's just such nonsense that it makes me laugh. But every time I hear it, or even now that we're talking about it, that's all that's going to be running around my head now for the next couple of hours, and it's going to piss me right off.
Brilliant. Benny Mac says wrestling bitch face. Morte answered the first question with Bang Bang Andy. Close, but just no cigar. The obvious Gilbert. I think Gilbert will probably get mentioned every week in this quiz because it's just a standard. I don't know answer, so I'll go with Gilbert. And Connor says 0-0 draws put me to sleep unless there's a bunch of saves and close chances. Well, I hope we didn't put you to sleep because it wasn't 0-0. There was
so
a bunch of close chances.
So what you're saying is, if a football match has exciting things, it doesn't put you to sleep. But if it does not have those exciting things, you go to sleep.
I mean,
pretty standard, really.
Yeah, that's pretty much how everybody views football.
Yeah.
Benny says, bang, bang, Mag scored. He absolutely did. Morty says, how shit is Mick Foley? He entered 3 times and still not winning. It is that's actually very, very true.
I never looked at it that way before.
Sharon wanted to answer. She knows one. Dan, anyone here rusty cogs and gears turning?
They must be referring to you, Maxie, because mine just don't turn. They're just rigid.
They're just seized up.
Yeah.
Absolutely seized up. Sharon says Edge. See, she knew the answer. Morte, I just thought it was that holiday in Curry that I had. Jesus Christ. Dan, another answer that we'll get every week, I guarantee, Tank Abbott. Morty says, I'm getting awful flashbacks to the quiz on Saturday night. Me and you staring each other in the eyes, trying to make the other's brain work. I don't think you're trying to make the other's brain work. I told you we're just staring at each other, loving you in the eyes. And Cam agrees that was him trying to seduce you.
You had a moment there, didn't you?
Either that or trap gas.
Right, fair enough.
Another question that Sharon said she thinks she knew, and then said no, she didn't know.
Oh, fair enough. Nor did I, probably.
Yeah. Morty says the Royal Rumble winner who didn't win the title at WrestleMania was Del Rio in 2011. Yeah, I think it was 2011. You're right there. Cam is talking about some photos that Morty and Dan took of their love affair. Morty said those photos were on Millwall Chris's Kodak disposable. Jesus, Millwall Chris, he has one of those them cameras that you have to put the black curtain over you at the back, and everyone has to stay still for 40 minutes whilst he takes the photo. Cam says the photos will be seen in about 2 to 4 weeks if you collect them from Wolves on tap. Jesus Christ. Scottish Danny answered one of the questions with Yokozuna. I think
93 is thinking there.
Was that the 93 one?
Yeah. Yokozuna came in, I think he came in
very late.
28,
very late. Something like that. Cam says, was it George Michael that drove into one of them back in the day? What? A Woolworths? Is he on about drawing through the back of Woolworths?
I don't know.
Cam Griffin, Yokozuna uses Happy Snaps, and Cam Griffin says no, he would definitely use the in-store ones at Tesco. Sharon has volunteered at one time to be a quizmaster.
It's funny. It's funny, Magsy, isn't it? Because that has been discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that Magsy actually said maybe we can get Sharon to ask some questions. And do you know what happened after that conversation? I completely forgot to ask her.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And Dan Griffin doing you a solid and giving you the lyrics to Ben's word of the week.
Yes. Ben.
Ben.
Now, my wife hasn't heard that jingle, so she's got no idea what I'm doing there.
Just you're excited about Ben's word of the week. So that's the chat fully caught up.
Fantastic stuff. So then, shall we dive into our non-wrestling topic, Magsy?
Yes, we shall.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
That belch gets me every time. And my kid brother sounds so Gloucester in that, doesn't he? No wrestling talk here.
It sounds like all people from Gloucester sound.
Well, the thing is, you talk to my brother, he does not sound like that. And when I said to him, can you just do a voice note or record this, and I want you to say this, and just make a silly noise, and that'll be that. I didn't say
he just copied your accent. He just said, "I'll just copy you, sir."
I didn't say to him, put on a really big Gloucester accent. It just happened.
Just Gloucester it up.
Yeah. We were inspired once again by real life events, because this show is nothing if not topical, Mags, isn't it?
We have got our finger on the digital pulse of the world.
We have indeed. We were inspired by the sight of a real Mr. Blobby costume being sold on eBay, and it got us a thinking. I wonder what people would wish they could own from TV or movies, memorabilia, and so on, such as potentially spending, I think it went for like 15 grand in the end on real.
You were looking to bid on the Blobby suit.
Well, I couldn't afford it, mate. I couldn't afford it, so
it went for ridiculous money.
Yeah, when it was at 8 grand, I did put a tweet out saying, "Is this worth a CWF all having a whip round?" And a couple of people were interested, but I don't think we could have raised 15 grand.
Ridiculous money.
It is. But yeah, kind of got us thinking, what would people like to own, silly or otherwise? And if you're in the chat and you think of any others, by all means, shout them out, let us know. Anything at all, movie, TV, music, whatever. What would you like to own from the history of entertainment, I suppose, Magsy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There we go. And we start with our good friend Connor at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. I'll read these out in the order they arrived into us, Mags, okay?
Sure.
Connor says, I would like to own the TARDIS from Doctor Who, where you walk in and there's a large spaceship inside a phone booth. Don't know how this would be possible, but it would be really cool to have one. It would make a great conversation piece. It'd probably start the old chat, wouldn't it?
It would, and if you personally, sir, had that TARDIS, you would use that as storage, because I know how you love to hoard things. You'd have 15 pool tables in that there TARDIS.
I'd have like 4 VCRs. I came back. Did I tell you I came back from work a couple of weeks back with like 15 keyboards and stuff?
And he didn't just keep one for himself; he kept 2.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, just in
I
case.
don't even know where they are now, actually.
Jesus wept.
Sharon, have you thrown on my keyboards out?
She probably has. I bet Sharon goes behind you like sneakily. Like, nope, that's definitely going. Wait till he's out.
Is my VCR still here? I can't see my VCR. Oh, it is. It's there. It's okay. Oh, panic stations then. How will I play my videotapes?
That you haven't played in 20 years.
Yeah, but if I decide one day that I want to watch a video, I've got it there. But there we go. I mean, I like the way Connor also isn't saying he'd like a TARDIS prop. He's saying he would like
The
TARDIS,
actual
TARDIS. Yeah, the actual TARDIS that has a large spaceship on the inside. I don't know how this would be possible. I don't think many people know how it would be possible, no. But there we go.
If anyone can find a way, I'm sure Connor can find a way.
Yeah, let's know how you get on, mate. Let's know how you get on. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. I mean, we got a picture here of, is it Darth Maul, Magsy?
It is Darth Maul,
For those listening on the audio version, with his, I suppose, lightsaber that comes out of both ends.
His double-ended lightsaber.
His double ender, indeed. And Danny says, no more queuing in Tesco. I'd be able just to cut right through the lines. And it always just comes back to stabbing, doesn't it?
Murder. It always comes back to mutilation and murder with Danny. It's just,
it does.
Couldn't like think of something really nice from his past that, I love that. He just wants to kill people.
Yeah, I hope he does
it's
it.
A good pick.
Yeah, I hope he does it in his dressing gown like that dude from Star Wars as well. Because that's all they're doing. They're not wearing robes or anything like that. They're just out in their jammers. They might as well be filmed in Gloucester because everyone walks around in their jammers and dressing gown. That's what the Star Wars is.
They're knockoff Ugg boots.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Star Wars is. This isn't some, galaxy far, far away. This is Gloucester in a couple of hundred years' time.
I mean, technically, that is a galaxy far, far away from reality.
Yeah. At Pigs Bladders on Twitter, he says, and again, I'll explain it for those listening on the audio version because we've got a picture to go along with it. One of these from the prisoner, inflated all the time and in the front garden to attack anyone who comes or goes. And it's the big white ball, isn't it, Max?
Yeah. I forgot that he put forward 2 this week.
Okay. If he's put forward 2, there's a strong chance I've missed one. And but yeah, have you seen the prisoner, Max?
I have a long, long time ago.
Yes, and this was the ball that would like just follow him around, I think, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, it's the ball that keeps you like trapped. If you're trying to escape, the ball chases you.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not sure why you'd want one to attack anyone who comes or goes, because would that not include yourself?
Just anyone, just attack. He just hates the rest of the world because people are a bunch of bastards.
What happens when you run out of milk? You're kind of stuck, aren't you? Because you can't get no one to deliver and you can't go out.
Maybe it's full of gloopy milk.
Maybe it's full of gloopy milk. Is that what the prisoner, the whole show was just completely misunderstood. All it was doing was following him around in case he wanted a coffee. Is that what you're saying? That's a whole different show now. Oh, I have got Pig Splatter's second shout here. He says he would like a stuffed Barbara Windsor mounted in the corner of his room and converted into a lamp. Every time you turn it on, it shouts, "Get out of my pub."
I mean, that's cruel, but also would be very unique. He's actually got a third entrant as well.
Okay.
Because he mentions wrestling related. He wants the original Shockmaster helmet, which, I mean, I suppose, or just get a Stormtrooper helmet and cover it in glitter.
Yeah, and then fall through a wall to get the authentic thing.
King's you'd be good at doing the Bulldog's part. He's fallen on his arse.
Did the Bulldog come from Gloucester?
He sounded like it.
Where the Bulldog came from changed all the time, didn't it? Depending on where they were.
Yeah.
Sometimes he was
very annoying.
Yeah. Sometimes he was from London.
Sometimes he was from Manchester.
Yeah.
Really, I think he's the town he was from the outskirts of Bolton. I think it was called Gorton or something like that. So It is near. It's close to Manchester, but yeah.
Fair enough. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He has a GIF here of a car And it says, his tweet says, Jim Rockford's 1974 Pontiac Firebird. How do you say Espert? Is that?
Esprit.
But it's spelled Espert. Magsy's coughing his guts up again for those listening on the podcast version, just so you know. From the Rockford Files, Rob says, he'd just spend all day doing J turns. I've never seen the Rockford Files, Magsy.
No, I very vaguely remember it. But yeah, I mean, that is a cool car. And doing J turns all the time, it'd be a bit hard work, I suppose, getting from A to B. You'd have to keep doing J turns all of the time.
If that's the only way you could drive, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd struggle down, like, say, the M65.
Think of the tyres you'd go through.
And the fuel.
Yeah.
Fuel's
Yeah.
expensive nowadays.
It is indeed, mate. It is indeed. We have a tweet here from Morty at MortyJR5 on Twitter. And he says, I now own an original Hairy Housewife YouTube t-shirt. Severely
Is that
worn.
a good thing?
Severely worn, washed and stained by its original owner. But it was certainly a talking point in Leeds.
I would burn that.
Yeah.
I definitely would.
You're not impressed then after your one little venture co-hosting?
Yeah, I figured it that show wasn't for me. They're too unprofessional.
Is that right?
Very, very unprofessional. Yeah.
When literally we're going live, you're pressing the button to start the intro, and I'm going, wait, what? You wanted 5 questions? Shit.
Do you know why they were unprofessional? Because me and Mort were talking for a good half an hour before Fitch even rocked up to the show.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Imagine someone having timekeeping like that. That'd be terrible.
I know. I mean, at least you turned up 4 minutes to go.
5, thank you.
Well,
yeah. Don't cut my timekeeping short. Cam at Cam Griff 92. You got to get the last word in all the time, haven't you? You can't just let something go.
No, I don't.
Yeah, righto. At Cam Griff 92 on Twitter. Cam says, Mr. Bean's original Mini Cooper. What a vehicle. Or a bottle of orange soda from Keenan and Kel. Although I reckon it tastes like the 30p pop you get from the corner shop. Okay. I mean, orange soda from Keenan and Kel. You could just, I imagine, just knock a bottle of that up yourself, couldn't you? Not the soda itself, but the actual bottle. It'd be easy to print a label, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And just buy a bottle of Fanta and stick it over the top.
But, I mean, Keenan and Kel.
Same, really, with the Mr. Bean's Mini Cooper, because you could just buy a Mini Cooper and do it up like it was Mr. Bean's.
But it wouldn't be the Mr. Bean's Mini Cooper, though, would it? That was in the program.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be the bottle of orange soda that was in the program of Keenan and Kel. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Imagine the E numbers and the sugar if you had got an original bottle from that time. It'd be like when we were talking about Sunny D the other day, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, it does look like the cheapest, nastiest orange pop that there is as well.
I'm not a fan of orange pop anyway.
Well, I don't mind it every now and again.
Lemonade, mate. Love a nice cold glass of lemonade. Yeah. Lovely.
I'm there with you for that.
Yeah. We have somebody messaging here. Rach Favas Smith at MR Favas. They say, Mr. T's Bins.
I mean, firstly, thank you for messaging in, Rach. Welcome to the CWF. Mr. T's Bins. First of all, is that a recognised piece of memorabilia? Was he well known for his bins? Did he? Was he Is
anyone well known for their bins?
Well, Oscar the Grouch.
You really, I saw the steam coming out your ears. You were desperately trying to think of someone who was well known for bins, just to stick it to me there, didn't you?
And it worked. So I'm actually quite proud of that. But yeah, Mr. T, if that is what you want, I hope that one day on eBay someone is flogging B.A. Baracus's bins and that you're able to pick it up, Rich.
Yeah, hope that happens. At official AB_pause on Twitter. the guest on the next episode of the Doctor Who pod actually comes out
Awesome.
tomorrow as we're recording this live, or if you're listening to the audio version that comes out on Wednesday, it's out already. And this is the episode where effectively Dan and AB flirt for 3.5 hours, and I may as well not freaking be there. And I had a mammoth editing job on my hands, and it took me 2 separate sittings to get it done, Max.
I mean, even without a guest there, you could say that you may as well have not been there most episodes.
Who's pissed on your chips tonight? What's wrong with you? Why are you so salty?
I mean, I'm only going off what Dan complains to me about all of the time.
Is that right? Okay, righto. AB says, I know it wouldn't actually do anything, but having the BBC miniseries version of The Hitchhiker's Guide would be pretty sweet. Okay, fair enough.
I'm sure that'll be available. BBC tend to put out lots of shows out on DVD and Blu-ray, so hopefully you can get yourself a copy.
Or if you're stumped and you can only find it on VHS, I know someone who's got a player.
He won't lend it you because he's tart.
I've probably got more than one video player in this room, to be fair, but I try not to say it too loud because I don't want Sharon to know. 5 Nerds Go at 5 Nerds Go on Twitter. Send us an image or a GIF, of the go-karts from Funhouse.
Yeah.
So yeah, Funhouse was bloody great, wasn't it?
Well, the twins were good. Pat Sharp was a bit of a twat.
He was. If I could take anything from Funhouse, it'd probably be the twins rather than the go-karts, to be fair. But that's a whole different podcast, I think, Maxie.
Well, After Dark, chain wrestling.
It is. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, I'd love to drive some of the insane contraptions, vehicles that were made for Mad Max Fury Road. Any of the models, miniature sets they used to film the space scenes in the original Star Wars movies would be cool too. Or a life-size wearable alien or predator suit. Interesting. Okay.
I guarantee that Dan has got something that resembles one of the props of the Star Wars space scenes in his house. Because wasn't one of the asteroids a potato? I'm sure it was just a potato. And there was one that was a shoe. Yeah, there's one that's a shoe. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Look it up.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out.
Yeah, the Mad Max Fury, you'll forget by the time the show ends. You'll forget. You would forget that whilst peeling said potatoes.
I would. I've not seen Mad Max Fury Road. Is that the new one, like the remake?
Well, the latest one. I think it's a good 5 years old now. But yeah.
Right. Well, then it is the new one, isn't it? Because I'm. It's not like the Mel Gibson ones from like way back when.
Yeah. It's
right.
I think it's Tom Hardy, the Tom Hardy one.
Okay, I've not seen that then.
The vehicles are very dystopian, very futuristic. Right. I would love to see Dan on the vehicle where they have a guy dangling like off a massive fishing rod whilst playing a guitar. That would be awesome. Dan could play that part.
Oh, fair enough. Start taking lessons now, Dan. I'm War Ranger. No, I've seen the original Mad Max movies. They're good. I like them.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on then. Dan also says that his favorite piece of memorabilia that he owns is this replica of the fob watch from the Family of Blood episodes of Doctor Who that Si and I, well, me and you know what I mean, covered in season 2 of the Doctor Who pod. It didn't awaken a Time Lord consciousness in me, but I still love it. And it is a really cool bit of kit with all the Gallifreyan markings on the outside and so on. Really, really cool bit of kit that is. And it's a fantastic story as well.
Yeah.
The Family of Blood. Really, really good episodes.
I love a pocket watch. I think I've got about 3 or 4, and that is a cool looking pocket watch.
Yeah, it is. That's all the Gallifreyan markings, Magsy.
You don't need to tell me I knew.
You're so full of shit. It's time we hear from our good buddy Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter. Steve-O still banging out fantastic content all the time, looking at all sorts of subject matters. And I was a guest on his show, Max, a few weeks back, and it's been dropped, I believe, today or yesterday the episode came out, and we're looking at he's going back through 2011 WWE, and we had a little look at Extreme Rules. So yeah, everyone go jump on Total Steve-O's podcast platforms, wherever you get your shows from, and check that out. Steve-O says, I'm going to do a Mags and cheat. Interesting.
How rude. I don't cheat. I just massage the rules.
Right. He says, I'm a huge Clockwork Orange fan, and whenever out in Camden, I look out for merch representing the film. Now thinking, I'd love to own the models used in Aliens, The Thing, Jason and the Argonauts. I used to love Jason and the Argonauts when I was a kid.
That's the one with the stop motion Medusa, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's one of those things that it hasn't aged well, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because it was so good for its time.
Yeah, it was groundbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve-O continues. Also, I've always wanted to visit certain film locations or the real life locations films are based upon, i.e. Zulu, World War II historic places depicted in films, Die Hard's Nakatomi Hotel. That would be awesome. Living in London, I visited the Bill's Sun Hill police station. Sadly, it's just a private building and was told by security I can't film outside it.
I mean, you would think with the bill being such a British institution, you'd be allowed to like at least take your picture with it. But yeah,
it's a shame. It was surreal seeing the actual building, though. Steve-O says. I also would go out on walks to try and find Bill filming locations nearby. Once again, very surreal.
I would love to see Steve-O walking down the cobbled road where the two police officers walked whilst the credits rolled at the end, just showing his ankles as he walks up that cobbled road. So get that done, Steve-O.
In a pair of those very plain, obviously police issue shoes.
And the black police tarts that the women officers wore.
Why? That took a turn.
Sexy turn.
A sexy turn. And finally, I think finally, unless I've missed anybody, we have a message here from Jimmy Evans at Jimmy Evans for Real on Twitter, someone who regularly tweets the Nitro Nights account and the Chain Wrestling account, sharing GIFs and pictures and all that sort of stuff. Big supporter of the shows. But I think the first time he's actually tweeted into Chain Wrestling.
No, I think he tweeted in a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But I think it was only like a one-word answer, so maybe you didn't pick it up.
Ah, right, okay. But it's great to hear from you, Jimmy. Thank you so much for the support of the shows and so on. Awesome stuff. And he sent us an image of, basically robotic, almost Transformer-esque things that are from the Power Rangers series. I know our good friend Matt Willis would probably be on board with that as well, Magsy.
Yeah, I mean, not something I was really interested in, but a lot of people do love the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a generational thing. I wasn't bothered on Power Rangers, but I think that maybe I was a bit old when it came out.
Yeah, I mean,
my little brother was mad into it.
Yeah, it was just something that I never got into, and it was the program was just a massive advert for the toys anyway.
Right. Okay.
It was literally designed. The program was designed to sell toys.
Fair enough. There's loads of spin-offs and new series and remakes and all that sort of. It's a big old franchise, isn't it?
Didn't one of the most famous actors to play a Power Ranger? Didn't he die recently?
Yeah. Twitter is full of people.
Frank, whatever it's
called. I wouldn't know the guy's name, but yeah, lots of people.
I think it was the famous green Power Ranger.
Okay, I thought it was a white one.
It could have been. I mean,
I got nothing to base that on. I don't know why I think that.
It might have been. I'm sure someone in the chat will be able to correct us.
Yeah, let us know. Speaking of the chat, Magsy, should we scan through that and then give a couple of our own?
The chat going mental as per usual. So Mo says he has a video of Dan singing the Ben song to Fitch, and Dan says he forgot he did that. Didn't I interrupt it to tell him to fuck off? Brilliant. Morty wants my hat. I mean, I can sign it for you and send it if you'd like as well, Morty. It'd be worth even more when I'm dead.
I thought you were going to say famous. What is wrong with you tonight?
I am famous.
And obviously, when you say sign it, you just mean you're going to mark it with an X or wax crayon or something, yeah?
No, I will sign it because I'm not mean to Morty like other people, like Fitch.
I'm not mean to Morty.
Kate, I didn't say that you were Fitch, did I?
No, but I'm not mean to Morty like other people, and then added
Yes,
Fitch
and
on
then
the end.
said
You're
Fitch.
insinuating I'm rude to Morty. I'm
Anyway,
actually coughing again. Anyway.
King's Pig's Bladder says he wants Roman Reigns' original teeth. Good luck.
Long gone.
He's been to Turkey and got them shaved down and fitted on. Sharon saying that she does go around after you and collecting the junk that her own, very own Womble collects. And she, well, that's what the Wombles did. They walked around Wimbledon Common collecting the junk that the ordinary people threw away. So that's kind of you, isn't it?
Well, I suppose. I got a few stereos dotted around as well.
Tobermory, you are.
Great Uncle
Great Uncle Bulgaria, he was called, weren't he?
Yeah, what did you call him? Tobermory?
There is one called Tobermory.
Is
I
there?
think it was one of the younger ones, yeah.
Okay. I got no idea.
Cam says, working on a site in Newcastle and they had a TARDIS in the reception.
Oh, why?
Walking every time I see it. Walk into the TARDIS and then end up at on Gallifrey.
Yeah. Nobody at the moment knows what Gallifrey is, Max. So you can't. Let's not get into that now. That's a different show.
Dan Griffin's we're talking about Scottish Danny's love of the double-ended lightsaber. Says he calls it a double-ended Jedi dissector. And that's what Steve-O calls his old chap.
Okay.
King's Pig's Bladder confirms he would be in charge of the ball and he would select who's allowed in and out. So the milkman is allowed in because he's going to be dropping off the milk.
The Iceland delivery guy or whatever.
Yeah, but when the milkman comes to be paid, he's getting the ball treatment.
Is he really? Yeah. Is that how you pay the milkman round your way? Is it give him the ball treatment?
Well, it depends if he's feeling frisky or not. If I've got the right change, he'll obviously get paid.
Okay. Otherwise, it's the balls for him.
Sharon, who loves orange soda? Jesus Christ. Who loves orange soda? Cam loves orange soda. Is it true? Morty ruins it by saying Sharon is the answer. Neil Buchanan. Cam says, I do. Ooh. So cheers for ruining that lovely thread there, Morty. Scottish Danny, good burger for laugh. That is, that's one of those movies that is so terrible that it's actually good.
What is that?
So Keenan and Kel, the two main guys of the Keenan and Kel show, they did a movie called Good Burger where they worked in a burger joint and they had a rival open across the road and they made gigantic burgers and they were trying to put them out of business.
Okay.
And they had a car that was actually a burger.
Right.
A delivery burger car.
Do you remember those phones you used to get that were burgers?
Yeah, weren't they terrible?
I don't know. I never had one, but I always wanted one.
I'm sure if you look in your shed, there'll be one in there.
There's probably 8 behind the pool table.
Dan says Duke, the dumpster drawer, was famous for his bins. Yeah,
good shot. Yeah, good shot.
And the cast of Stomp were also known for their bins. Sa does not know what Stomp is.
What is Stomp?
So Stomp is like a stage show, like a play, where people make music with like items that are not normally known for making music. So there's like a bit where they all have newspapers and they rustle in the papers to make music. Stomp is where they have like barrels and as basically as big shoes and they're stomping about and making music with them.
Oh, okay. That doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in.
This is going back to the fun house and Sar wanting to get the twins as his memorabilia. Dan says Sar wanting the opportunity to disappoint 2 women at once. Nope,
No, it's
because
nothing like that. There's nothing...
he always disappoints Sharon and his mum for 2 different things, but they're always disappointed with him.
Well, I mean, with regards to the twins, though, it wasn't like, anything sexual or anything like that. I just think, they look kind of sturdy, so they can help me clear out that freaking shed. That's all I...
Then surely the people to get to help you clear out that shed will be the Chuckle Brothers.
Well, one of them's dead.
Well, I mean, just it's semantics.
Okay. Is it? I think it's quite an important detail if you're hiring 2 people to help you move.
Yeah, but
because it's not a case of
to me.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's not to you to me anymore. It's now just to you, and then it just drops on the floor.
To you, and then
oh, that's a shame. We should stop mocking the dead, Mags. I thought we were past this on this show.
It will never get old.
Okay.
So Dan, going back to the Mad Max Fury Road, said he wants to play the flaming guitar. He could light his beer farts. Would that work? Like a giant fleshy farty bagpipe. Oh, that, I mean, just that's describing the scene to a T, isn't it? Just
fleshy
his farts. Like, and then someone like that. Brilliant. Sharon saying she got Charlie a pocket watch for Christmas. That's amazing. Yeah, like I said, I love pocket watches. Sharon says it was the Eye of Agamotto.
I thought that was ice cream.
I'm assuming she means the pocket watch. I hope.
Yeah, no, Agamotto. No, it's to do with Doctor Strange's. I think.
Okay, fair play.
Charlie's a big fan of that. Yeah.
Charlie says yes, it was. I just looked at chat again, and I've been doing some homework and my own thing with this on in the background. That you are a super fan. We absolutely massively appreciate that, and doing your own work as well. Just what a superstar.
Glad to hear you doing your homework. I'll tell you that.
And finally, Morty says, Mags, it will never get old. And then I was waiting for Sar to say, neither will Paul Chuckle.
And
Sar does take he does take the high ground with stuff like this. I would have said that.
I really, really had to fight that to not say it. I'm not gonna, it was there on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, I thought it would be.
I mean, he did look old anyway, didn't he?
He did.
They both looked very old.
Yeah. Well, they've been around a long time, haven't they?
And the one that's alive, he was, is it Paul? The one that's still alive. He's a bit of a knobhead as well.
Is he really?
Yeah, so a couple of podcast buddies of mine from the Ricky and Clive wrestling podcast. Unfortunately, the show's ended, but hopefully they'll bring it back. Clive used to work in a hotel. And
I think you've said about this, yeah. Go on.
The Chuckle brothers stayed at the hotel. And they got some room service, and Clive was the one who took the room service to the rooms, and he accidentally took the wrong meal to the wrong Chuckle brother, and Paul Chuckle was not best pleased about that at all. Yeah, and they missed an opportunity. Obviously, when they give him the meal, could have said to you, and then when it was wrong, he said no, to me.
Yes. That's brilliant. He served the wrong Chuckle brother.
And the Chuckle brother didn't go, silly Barry, silly. He went mental instead.
Oh dear. You'd have thought that, Chuckle brothers being cranky in the morning, not getting the eggs and that.
Especially when there's already a comedy duo called the Crankies.
Anyway.
I mean, there is.
I know there is.
And they're both still alive as well, I think, aren't they?
Are they? Who was the little person who...
You try to be so diplomatic about that as well. Who was the little person? That's a woman.
Yeah, the woman who dressed up, was it like a schoolboy?
Yeah, Jeanette Cranky.
She was one of the Crankies then, okay. It's a bit creepy, isn't she?
I mean, that's mean.
It's not if they are a bit creepy. I'm just asking for some.
Wow. So what about Jeanette Cranker, the little person, is creepy.
Well, no. First of all, we're saying little person. I just mean that they're small enough to play a child. They're not actually a. What's the correct fucking Sharon? Help me out in the chat. You know what's the correct term?
Shrunk down.
No, not shrunk. No.
Dwarf.
Is it? It's not. No, that's not the correct term. We should move on before we get cancelled.
let's leave this. Yeah, Jeanette
Either
Cranker.
way, the little cranky is a bit fucking weird, a bit creepy. I'm not a fan.
More. I'm gonna put this rule in place on this podcast. Mort says he's not allowed to discuss little people after his and Fitch's appearance on Rant Matters. So Sar's now not allowed to discuss little people. And also, Mort put this forward, not us.
No,
Mort does not represent.
I don't think that's correct.
Chain wrestling, but Mort thinks that little people are called gnomes.
No, that's not correct.
Jesus
That's
Christ,
not correct. Anyway, the thing is, I'm upstairs recording this now in the little space that I have set up for doing the live shows and whatever. I can feel the wife cringing in the front room downstairs now as we're having this conversation. I can feel the cringe and the shame and the embarrassment on my behalf.
Out of 70, I think this is episode 75 that we've done live. How many episodes has Sharon said afterwards, you're not doing that again. You've got to knock this podcast on the head.
I don't think she's ever said you're not doing that again, but there have been times when I've come downstairs and she's sort of looked at me and gone, "Jeez," you know.
Every time I think that you've crossed the line, you go further.
Oh man!
And Sharon says she wasn't listening. But I'm guessing you're just trying to say little person or dwarf.
So I was saying little person and little Sharon. Little person is the correct term.
It didn't, chat. Go back and listen, chat. It was saying midget. He said gnome.
I didn't say any of those words. And
Elf.
I'm disgusted that you have now said those. Elves are something different, aren't they? They're the things that help Santa. Yeah.
And they're also the things that you put on a shelf to torment your kids during the Christmas period.
Well, there you go. See, so that's different to a little person, isn't it?
They've got.
Oh no! No, move on. I was going to say something bad then, but I could hear it in my head.
You can't help yourself. You are a little person phobic, I think.
A little person phobic. Okay. No, I was going to say something that had totally good intentions, but when I heard it in my own head, I thought to myself, "No, that's going to sound terrible, and that's not how I meant it." So there we go.
Stop talking. She's even used your full name. You've been full named.
Stop talking, Simon. My wife says, "Yeah, that's a good shot, mate. That's a good shot." What memorabilia did you want, Magsy, from any TV or movies or anything? And if you say that little cranky school uniform, I'm going to be pissed.
So I mean, I have got quite a bit of the memorabilia that I want. I'm not a massive memorabilia lover. I've obviously got the belts all around here. People know about them. But I went through a phase of collecting decorative swords. So I've got the blade sword. I think it's called the pig fucker. That's what the sword's called. It's the movie Blade?
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah. Well, it's the one where if someone else holds the sword, the sparks come out and destroy their hand. I've got that sword. I did, as a kid, get an A-Team van, a toy A-Team van where you could take.
I don't like this story. It makes me sad, Mags.
You take the lid off it, and you can play A-Team in the basically the van. You get the little figures, and then my brother sat on it, and the wheels popped off, and it broke, and they're very hard to come by. So thanks for rehashing those horrible memories for me, Sal, with this ridiculous topic that you should have thought better about.
I just saw Mr. Blobby on eBay. I didn't realize we were going to open up some old fucking wounds.
That's added another 6 weeks to my therapy.
Oh dear. So you've got like, is it a full-sized sword from Blade?
Yeah.
Like
I
a
mean,
proper metal one.
Yeah. The handle obviously doesn't have the sparks because that would be very dangerous. But
Yeah.
it's also got a little hidden throwing blade in the base of the hand.
Mate, you're gonna have to take some pictures because, well, literally right now, Sharon has just said it in the chat. She loves Blade. You have to take some pictures and send them over for Sharon to see because I know she really enjoys those films.
Yeah, I shall. I've also got this is not memorabilia related, but I've also got an old Japanese weapon called a naginata. So basically, it's a big, long, like staff, and it's got a massive blade on the end of it.
What, like a scythe?
Kind of, I suppose, but not. It doesn't. It's not curved for like cutting grass. It's straight for chopping samurais' heads off.
Have you just got farming equipment?
No, I mean, I may have some. I've got a mower.
I've got a mower.
And I've got some haws.
Brilliant. So there's nothing in particular that you kind of look at in a like like the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I mean, it can be as ridiculous as you want, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not something that's ever really bothered me. I don't get hung up on things like that. I mean, I suppose I always wanted a ring from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
So yeah, I might end up getting one of them eventually. But yeah, they're not really something I got hung up on because otherwise I'd get it and my brother would just come round and sit on it. And so I tend to not hope for things like that.
Okay.
Because I just don't want my dreams dashed again.
You're scarred, aren't you, from this?
I love that 18 van. For the few weeks that I had that 18 van, it was amazing. Because it got all the little figures, you got your little face and your little howling Mad Murdoch, and then they all got flattened. Well, the figures were fine, but I didn't want to play with them anymore. They'd been tainted.
Tarnished,
correct. That's the word for it. They were tarnished.
Tarnished by your brother's eyes.
I couldn't look at them in the eye. I had to turn the heads around.
Okay.
That was Sarah coughing. That wasn't me this time. That was definitely Sarah.
Bloody hell. Mine are pretty straightforward, really, Max. I've always wanted a big gold belt, which I've now got. The wife got me one for my birthday a couple of years ago, which is fantastic. I want a full-size TARDIS. Now, I'm not like Connor saying that I want an actual working time machine that I can walk into and it would be a good conversation starter, apparently. I want, like, you can get these kits to build them and so on. I'd love a full-size TARDIS. I'd also like a full-size Dalek as well. That'd be cool. But again, it's like, room.
Do you know what would be cool? If you got the bottom half of a Dalek and a seat inside, and then you just sat in it like Davros.
Yeah, like
Davros.
A
hairy Davros. And that could also solve a problem we were talking about last week with the curtains. Because if you got that as a chair, when the sun come out, you could just...
You can get the same effect. You get the same effect with, like, a mobility scooter, though, can you?
Get
Perhaps
to
that's
work.
what I need.
Yeah, get to work on it. A little mobility scooter just wrapped with a TARDIS base. That would be
I could
amazing.
charge it at work to save the electric out of my own meter.
You could.
Wouldn't have to pay for bus fare. Bloody, that'd be fantastic.
It would.
Sharon, I want a mobility scooter for my birthday in a couple of weeks, okay?
And a TARDIS case to go around it.
Yeah. That'd work. That'd work, mate. Thank you, everybody in the CWF, in the chat, on Twitter, online, etc., for sending us in your memorabilia that you either own or you want. Absolutely fantastic. I love talking about all this sort of stuff because, again, it leans into nostalgia, which I love, Magsy.
Yeah, that was an amazing load of answers. I mean, every week the CWF knock out the park, but yeah, this week was a lot of fun. Thank you a lot, guys.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, mate. Brilliant stuff. Sharon in the chat there as well with a late shout. She'd love Brandon Lee's jacket from The Crow. Now, that is a banging film as well, isn't it, The Crow?
Yeah. Would that have the bullet hole in?
I suppose so.
That would be worth a lot.
Oh, hang on. No, he got shot whilst making it, didn't he? I thought he meant the bullet hole from... Okay. You're dark tonight, mate. You're bad.
But
Not
anyway, I will send her a picture of my blade sword.
Yeah, okay. And that's not a euphemism, I hope. Maxie,
No,
play the
it's
jingle.
definitely not. Start quickly changing the subject then. Let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Now then. Maxie won a poll again.
Why'd you go all Jimmy Savile about that then? That was
What do you mean?
awkward. Now then.
Oh shit! I did a bit, didn't I? I didn't even mean to.
Suspicious.
That's worrying. What do you mean suspicious? What, like I'm Jimmy? Like I'm really Jimmy Savile or something? How is that suspicious?
I'm not saying you were. I mean, it's all coming out in the wash, but let's quickly move on.
Yeah, let's. just for clarification, I am not Jimmy Savile. There we go.
You've never been seen in the same room. Just
Because he's fucking brown bread, isn't he?
Gone but not forgotten.
Oh my god, Maxie won a poll.
Now then.
Oh dear. And I'm glad that Maxie won this poll because this is a fantastic topic to discuss. Bash at the Beach 2000. The actual match that Maxie put forward as, I suppose, the main link, Maxie, it was Jeff Jarrett versus Hogan, but we're going to look at all the other nonsense that went on around it as well. And you said about scanning through the actual main event of the show with Jeff Jarrett and Booker T also, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably not be talking that much about the actual wrestling because the Hogan and Jarrett match was, well, it wasn't a match. It was akin to the finger poke of doom in terms of wrestling action. But there is such an interesting backstory to this whole situation that getting the option to put this on a poll, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I'm glad it won. Bash at the Beach 2000 came to us from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, the 9th of July 2000. Same building where Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO a few years earlier. Yeah. 75,000 pay-per-view buys. Not a fantastic number, but funnily enough, not the worst they had that year. It's kind of middle of the road for the 12 pay-per-views WCW ran in 2000.
This is 2000 WCW. They are in the throes of defeat. They're well on the way to being eclipsed, and then I think this is 6 months before they end up actually being purchased by Vince and the WWF. So yeah, the death knells were certainly in sight. Yes,
indeed. The crowd was just a smidge over 6,500 for a gate of around $127,000, which again isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff. But if you look at previous events held in that arena, the attendances all tend to be roughly the same, between 6,000 and 7,000. So I'm guessing that was just the attendance that it had, Maxie, as opposed to them not
capacity.
Yeah. During the show, we get a few moments of people trying to track Hulk Hogan down, but they can't find him.
Especially Jeff Jarrett and the singing fat ladies, which is a link back to him basically wanting to call time on Hogan's career.
And that's kind of what with regards to the age thing and calling time on Hogan's career. It's kind of the angle that we're looking at, isn't it? We had the kind, it became the new blood versus whatever, but we're looking at the younger generation and WCW trying to change the way it was being ran, but making it quite public that these characters backstage had creative control, in Hogan's case, for example, or they would politic their way into certain situations, the old guard, I suppose. And they were trying to make it known that they were working against that, but make it a storyline at the same time. And I mean, it's an interesting idea, but unless you're already a fan and already following the backstage stuff, I don't see how it's going to attract any new fans in.
Yeah, and that was a massive problem. But I suppose there was sense to to the storyline because it did get those younger wrestlers into storylines with those bigger wrestlers, with those older guard, by having them as a faction going against this older guard. Unfortunately, it didn't work because the older guard used their creative control and would go over time and time again. But at least the younger guard were getting to share ring and airtime with these wrestlers that wouldn't give up their spots.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so how, this was your choice, Maxie. So how do you want to approach this? Because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of talk in the timeline of the day with regards to meetings and conversations and people leaving the arena and so on. How do you want to get into this?
I think it makes sense to kind of follow the timeline of the pay-per-view and then talk about the backstage and the aftermath after that, I suppose.
Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, initially, for this particular topic, there's a few different viewpoints that I think are worth listening to. And normally with these scenarios, you tend to find that when you've got a couple of different voices putting forward their viewpoint, somewhere in the middle of all that is closer to what the actual truth is, I feel.
Yeah. People obviously always have an agenda and their version of the truth. So, yeah, that makes sense. If you go into any kind of like wrestling controversies, you'll usually find that both sides have elements of the truth, but the genuine story is somewhere in between those.
Yeah, and the main voices I've heard about this particular topic, funnily enough, Hulk Hogan is not one of them. There are comments that you can find, but not really in-depth discussions, I guess. And again, we've mentioned Hogan's books in the past. It's pointless looking at that for research because they're full of shit. So the three voices that I've kind of listened to or heard bits and bobs from would be Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, and Jeff Jarrett himself. Now, Jarrett is one that I think we can quite easily straight away summarize his thoughts on what went on this day as not really knowing what was happening,
just doing what he was told,
doing what he was told. Jarrett apparently was under the impression that Hogan didn't want to lose to him. Russo wanted Jarrett to beat Hogan initially, and then Hogan was going to go away for a little while. Hogan then asked, well, what happens next for me? And Russo had no idea. So that is where Hogan stepped in and was like, well, that doesn't work for me, brother, because, I need to know what I'm doing next. And I think quite realistically and quite sensibly, you can't just write a guy off television and have no real idea.
Yeah. That does make sense. And to be fair, despite his age and despite the fact that the WCW were trying to push some of the newer talent, Hogan was still their biggest star. So for him to not know what his future storylines would be, especially for his comeback, it makes sense. He would be apprehensive because if this was any other wrestler and they were told, you're losing the title, you're going to go away, and we don't know the storyline for you coming back, that wrestler's going to feel nervous that they're not coming back, that they're going to be cut, that they're going to be raw out and forgotten about. So I can understand Hogan's mindset of wanting to at least know a timeline and a storyline for his comeback.
Yes, exactly. Now, I suppose if we look at the timeline of the actual show, as opposed to the backstage stuff, we have the Jarrett Hogan match effectively in the middle of the card, don't we? Which is their world title match.
And we have Michael Buffer saying that this is the main event of the evening, which is, the Michael Buffer stuff is still ridiculous. The fact that they were paying him so much money and he got so many things wrong. But straight after Michael Buffer finishes, we get Tony Schiavone correcting him and saying, well, no, folks, don't go away after this match because we've got about 4 or 5 other matches to come on the card. So this is definitely not the main event.
Yes. The match that, well, we keep referring to it as a match, but it's not. Effectively, we have Hogan come down to the ring. Jarrett come down to the ring. Jarrett lies down. Vince Russo is also present. Russo's shouting at Hogan to pin him, throws the belt at Hogan in the ring. In a bit of a huff, it seems, bit cross and so on. Hogan gets the microphone and it says the famous lines of, is this your idea, Russo? This is why this company is in the mess it's in. This, is this kind of bullshit, he says on the microphone, which is quite, jarring to hear, swear words on a WCW pay-per-view at this point in time, because they did have standards and practices applying to them all the time in this era as well. Slightly different on pay-per-view to television, of course, but there we go. Hogan puts his foot on Jarrett.
This is the thing about Hogan is, even though he sensed the screw was on, he still took the pin because the title did mean the spot meant that to him.
Yes.
Hogan is essentially breaking the fourth wall of wrestling here by saying, "Is this your deal?" Hinting that this is scripted, and the commentary also mentioned that this isn't on their script, so there's a lot of kind of like breaking kayfabe in this. But Hogan, still being Hogan, has to be on top, so he did take the pin. He didn't like balk at the suggestion of this easy victory. He still took it, which goes totally against him being trying to defend the company, saying that this is the reason why that it's in the shape it's in. He still wanted to be the champion. He still wanted to be the guy on top. So yeah, there's a little bit of a hypocrisy there from the Hulkster.
Yeah, without a doubt. But it's and this is where you get certain grey areas, because at the Vince Russo was supposedly in charge of creative at this stage. He left a few weeks back and had come back. Now Russo has come back to a very politically based locker room. Is one of the reasons why he left in the first place. And Eric Bischoff,
it's worse, and now it's worse.
Yes, exactly. Eric Bischoff is there as well as effectively as a form of a consultant. But Russo answers to Bischoff, especially when it comes to matters regarding Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Bischoff was very much, with Hogan in regards to looking after Hogan's character. According to Eric Bischoff, Hogan had never completely actively full-on played his creative control card in the whole time in WCW until this night.
I think that's bullshit.
I'm not convinced, but we're not in the room. But I'm leaning more towards what you're saying, Mags.
They brought in the Ultimate Warrior for a run just so Hogan could get a win back. If that's not flexing your creative control muscles, I do not know what is. I mean, they brought in all the big monster heels that Hogan faced in the late 80s and early 90s in WWF, so Hogan could work with people who he knew and trusted. So, yeah, he absolutely flexed those. From day one, he flexed that creative control.
I think so. Yeah. However, this particular... I suppose I'm sort of jumping ahead a bit, but we need to remember maybe that there are people listening to the podcast or seeing us live now who don't know what happened that night and what it led to. So the gist of this situation is, Jarrett lies down, Hogan pins him with one boot on him while slagging off Russo, gets the belt, walks out. Russo comes back about half an hour-ish later on.
Yeah, I think they have the Vampiro and the Demon match.
Yes.
And then Vince is out after that, I think.
Yeah, Russo returns and basically then cuts a promo that I think is fantastic. I mean, the subject matter and what is going on at this time is nonsense. Don't get me wrong, but Russo here cutting this promo, I think is brilliant. So passionate and probably the best promo of his life.
Probably the best promo that WCW has had in a long time. It's that good of a promo that he turns the crowd, because when he comes out, the crowd are booing the living hell out of him because he's basically screwed their hero, Hulk Hogan. By the time he finishes this promo, the crowd are rabid for what he puts forward. It's amazing to watch just how what looks like an honest, heartfelt shoot, what that can do for a wrestling crowd when they think that they're getting that peek behind the curtain.
Yes, exactly. He cuts this promo slagging off Hogan, the politics backstage, which we'll get into a little bit more, I suppose, in a moment, before basically saying that the belt Hogan has means nothing. Jeff Jarrett is still the world champion. He's going to wrestle Booker T later that night, and that's going to decide the world title that evening. This then leads to Hogan suing Vince Russo and suing WCW.
Yep.
Legit, for defamation of character, breach of contract, and various other lawsuits. And they took many, many years to settle. I think it wasn't done with until, I think WCW were actually out of business for the best part of 4 years before these lawsuits were actually settled.
Oh yeah, the company was dead and buried by the time the lawsuit was finished. And I think the lawsuit was actually in favor of WCW. So Hogan got nothing out of it.
Now, this is where I think there's some confusion on this subject matter, because I mean Booker T eventually walks out as the world champion, and it's a great moment in WCW history. Booker T's first world title reign. He's like a homegrown talent for them. Excuse me, sorry.
A people's champion.
Yes, exactly. So it is kind of going towards that, the youth movement, or the homegrown undercard guys rising up and so on. I think there's a little bit of confusion with this, with various people thinking, oh, this was a shoot, that was a work, this is this, that's that. That leads to some of the controversy surrounding this night. Looking into it and listening to the people who were there and involved and so on, it seems that Russo, Hogan, and Bischoff were having meetings, and to a point, everything we see was a work.
And Russo's side is that this was 100% of work. This was agreed upon between the three of them.
Yes, exactly. And it's devised to work the boys in the back. It's devised to work the crowd. It's devised to work everybody, so that you have this kind of blurring of the lines. I suppose you look at what Montreal did for the WWF. Maybe they're heading towards something like that. They want to bring in backstage politics into what you're seeing in the ring, because a certain aspect of the wrestling business and a certain aspect of wrestling fandom find that interesting.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really see how it's going to make them money in the long run, but whatever. It's an idea they've come up with. Now, sorry, excuse me. Sorry.
That was coughing again.
It was me coughing again, mate. It was. With regards to Hogan not wishing to lose to Jarrett, that is what Jarrett was told. Also, Jeff Jarrett explains, very recently, Jeff Jarrett explained that he was told Hogan didn't want to lose to him. So when Jarrett comes to the ring and lies down like this, he believes this is all a shoot. He believes this is real. He's also had it since explained to him that's not the case, but whatever. With regards to Hogan running his mouth, that was planned. Russo throwing the belt in, that was planned. Russo's promo was planned. And then the end goal was for Booker T to still win the title from Jeff Jarrett. That was still... what happened on the night is pretty much exactly what everyone agreed to do.
Yeah.
On the premise that Hogan would then go away, come back X amount of months later with
the
world
title in hand.
Exactly, with his title belt, citing
champion versus champion.
Yes, exactly. And he would be coming back as a big evil champion, saying, I'm the real champion, and so on. Weight is added to that discussion of it being a complete work. By the way, there's 2 title belts there on the night. Now, that wasn't normal practice, apparently, for WCW at this time, according to Bischoff and Russo. It's one of the few things they seem to agree upon.
Because they eventually used the original big gold belt that is bent at the top.
That's right. Yes, the belt that Jarrett wears to the ring in the second contest is the one that everyone had been wearing. That's the actual WCW title that they've been using for years, and that Jarrett was using literally the previous week on Nitro. The secondary belt that Hogan left with, that was one that they went and got the day before. I believe it was either the day before or that morning, and Dave Penza was sent to go and pick this up because they had all this planned.
Because it was planned,
Yes. Where there's certain grey areas, I suppose, is when Bischoff turns round and starts talking about how Russo always seemed to be conniving and whispering in back corridors. And there was a production meeting to discuss this whole situation scheduled for this day. Bischoff spoke directly to Russo and Russo's assistant and said, we're going to be in at 2:00 or 2:30 or whatever. And it was about half an hour after the start of the meeting would normally take place that they scheduled on these days. Russo then moved the meeting to 11:00 in the morning to make sure that Bischoff and Hogan would miss it. So that adds a bit of a grey area to stuff there.
Yep.
The issue we have, though, is the Russo promo, Magsy, isn't it? This is where the controversy comes in. Because this is where we get the real life lawsuits and the real life, I suppose, leaving of WCW by Hulk Hogan, Mags.
Yeah, because this would be Hogan's last ever appearance for WCW. He left the show early. That's legitimate. When Russo mentions that in his promo that Hogan has took the belt and gone home, that was legitimate. I think Bischoff also left as well. Where Hogan took umbrage was being called a piece of shit, being called a bold son of a bitch, because Hogan was very defensive about his hair. It was written into pretty much all of his wrestling contracts that his hair wasn't to be used as a storyline fodder. So that's why it's never mentioned until this. And Vince Russo, like Sar said, he said that all this promo was agreed with by Bischoff and Hogan, and the real issue that Hogan has was that Vince Russo promised to ring him the next day with a fully laid out plan of how Hogan would come back and kind of a timeline, and that phone call never happened, and that's what led to Hogan assuming that this was a screw job, and he instantly filed a lawsuit to sue the company.
Yeah, exactly. And there was also the comments by Russo of the politicking backstage, and he mentions Hogan's creative control card. He literally uses that term, doesn't he? And he states that Hogan has used that today because he didn't want to lose to Jeff Jarrett. Whereas Hogan has openly stated he was happy to lose to Jarrett as long as there was a plan going forwards. Again, we don't know how accurate that is on the day, but Hogan has said that since, so we got to take it as is, I suppose. It was just more concern about what was going to happen going forwards.
Yeah.
But the statements by Russo of he didn't want to lose to Jarrett, he's politicked his way backstage again. It's absolute bullshit. Hogan is a piece of shit and all that sort of stuff. That is what led to and this is the funniest thing ever, the defamation of character lawsuit. Not just the breach of contract with regards to the creative control. I could almost, in a way, see that maybe he can get something out of that. Hogan,
if he's got a creative control clause in his contract, and that his creative input was ignored, then I dare say he would have a case for his contract being null and void.
Yeah, that you could almost. I mean, it's crazy. It's nonsense. It's wrestling madness.
Mhm.
But you could almost try and find a little nugget of sense in that idea. Defamation of character, though. The reason that lawsuit didn't go any further was, and apparently this was argued in a court of law. You know, high money lawyers, solicitors, etc.
Yeah.
And the big stumbling block for Hogan's case was that Russo only referred to him as Hulk Hogan in the promo and not Terry Bollea, his real name.
Yeah. So
So
that
he was slating the character.
that
It's just
use
nonsense.
that verbiage was enough to clear Russo of defamation of character because he was talking about a fictional wrestling character and not the real person, Terry
Yes.
Terry Bollea. Ironically, Hulk Hogan would use that very same argument to win a case against Gorka a few years later when his sex tape with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife was leaked by Gorka. He mentioned in his testimony that that Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch penis, but Terry Bollea doesn't have a 10-inch penis. So he used that separation of real person and character to his benefit to win hundreds of millions of dollars from Gorka. So he come off pretty well from that situation.
I mean, it's just, to me, this whole Bash at the Beach controversy and scenario and so on, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of hullabaloo. But when you boil down to, really get down to the crux of the situation, there's not masses there that I find too difficult to grasp when you think about it. Everyone was in on it. Everyone kind of knew what was going on. The commentators were there pitching, oh, this isn't on our run sheet. This is, Tony Schiavone says over and over again in his proper, serious Tony Schiavone voice, this is real life, folks. This is real life. They're trying to sell you something that, and it's a wrestling work they're trying to sell as a shoot.
Yeah, they're
But
trying to blur the lines
Yeah.
of reality. Yeah.
And I think over the years, there's been this kind of myth added to this, that there was more to it than there actually is, potentially, Magsy.
Yeah. For me, what this boils down to is bruised egos.
Yes.
This was Hogan, who had been on top of the wrestling world for a generation, for a full generation. He's had kid fans who have turned into adults and had their own kids who are then still fans of Hulk Hogan. He was so used to being the guy in wrestling that when he could see that perhaps that time was running out, that he wasn't liking what was going to happen, and he essentially threw his toys out of the pram. On the opposite side of the coin, we have a Vince Russo who he's not always the easiest person to work with from all accounts. He very much is can be set in his ways. So it was a clash of wrestling egos that boiled over to not only the wrestling show, but into real life legalities, which it just sounds ridiculous that wrestling storylines ended up in a courtroom. I mean, this is the old Hogan adage of turning a work into a shoot. It is exactly that.
It's just a lot of silly nonsense. And to be honest, 2000 WCW, there's some bloody good stuff there.
So I mentioned last week I've been on a little bit of a binge of 2000s WCW, and it gets a lot of grief. Rightly so. There is at the top of the card, there is a lot of shit, but some of that undercard stuff, it's glorious, absolutely glorious. The stuff with Lance Storm and the general direction, its quality. Chavo Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, the Filthy Animals, really, really good stuff. The undercard is it's superb. And then you've got these older wrestlers gripping with grim death to that top spot, when really what could have saved this company was right there jerking the curtain.
Yeah, potentially, mate. Potentially. I mean, I don't know what you want to do with regards to rating this in particular. If we rate the wrestling itself, then
well, the first match is a 0. It's a definite.
There's no wrestling at all.
The Jarrett and Booker T match is actually not a bad match at all. I mean, there are two wrestlers that can really go. It's not particularly long. I think about maybe 10, 12 minutes, but it's for a match that is alleged that they knew nothing about and that they were doing on the fly. It's a really good match, and it's the best ending that could have happened, because the people's champion, the person who was the front and center of the new era of WCW, became champion.
Yes, very true. I mean, there's a lot of, I suppose, should we say, ignoring the rules. There's a lot of chair shots and guitars and ref bumps, and they fight through the crowd. So, the count outs and DQs are completely ignored without it ever being stated that it's a no DQ match. But I find that finale to the pay-per-view quite exciting, to be honest. Jeff Jarrett does some fantastic, almost dead kick out at 2 near falls kind of thing, Some brilliant stuff on there. If we're rating the first segment, I guess, like you said, Maxie, it's a 0.
Yeah.
The Booker T Jarrett match that closed the card, 6.5, 7 for me, I think, something around that region.
For me, if we're going to encapsulate the whole kind of storyline and the promo from Vince, I think that is the star of the show. That promo is, whether work or shoot, is one of the best promos that you will see in wrestling. So if we were to take like all of these segments and mash them together into one, I think it's quite an important moment in wrestling. So I think I would give it a 7.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Ironic as well, isn't it, when you think those years previous in that same building, it all kicked off with Hogan, in a controversial moment, dropping the leg.
And then Hogan ended it.
Yeah, 4 years later, it all ends with Hogan here in the same building, controversially, and he never returned to WCW again. Mad, absolutely mad. Magsy, where do you want to go next week, bud?
Now, I think we've had our fill of Hogan and Jarrett for a little while. So I wanted to kind of get away from them. So I've gone with a link that I don't think I've ever used before. So I've gone with wrestlers pulling double duty. So Booker T pulled double duty because he had a match with Canyon, I think, earlier on the card. And then obviously Jeff Jarrett pulled double duty in 2 title matches. So I had a look for matches where people have pulled double duty, and there's actually been quite a lot. Obviously, we've had tournaments where the likes of Bret Hart has won the King of the Ring in one night and wrestled 3 matches. I think there was also a WrestleMania where, or a wrestling event that Triple H had 3 world title matches in one night. But I thought that was overkill, and we've done a lot of Triple H. So I've gone with someone who I don't think we've covered too much of. So this week I'm pitching that we look at Seth Rollins from Night of Champions 2015, where he pulled double duty. This was the time when he just become the double champion. He beat Cena at SummerSlam, which meant he was the US and world champion at once. and on this show he faced Cena again, and then he faced Sting in the main event. So I want to go to Night of Champions 2015 and Seth Rollins. I mean, I think we'll go with the Sting match, to be fair. Seth Rollins versus Sting.
Yeah, but I mean, if that wins, I'm sure we'll touch upon the other contest as well, won't we?
I'm sure
It's just kind of the way we do it, mate, isn't it? I suppose.
it is.
Yeah, that's a great show. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan, you know. I think
Especially after this weekend. This
Oh.
weekend and his CM Punk comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video?
I have seen that video. I have indeed.
He goes in.
He
So
does.
after this, folks, go and search on YouTube Seth Rollins CM Punk, because he goes in on CM Punk.
He does indeed, my friend.
Philly.
He does.
We figured it out over here. They figured it out over there. I want nothing to do with him. He's a cancer.
Mm.
Brilliant.
Indeed. My link for next week. Maxie, I haven't won a poll in ages.
I know. What's this all about?
don't know.
Throwing something spectacular. Vote for Sar. Hashtag vote for Sar.
I've not won a poll in ages, so I thought I'm going to take a leaf out of your book, because
I'm going to fucking cheat.
you're the one winning all these polls, aren't you? So I thought, hi, I'm inspired by your victorious run, my friend, and I thought, let's have a little look at the stuff you've done in the past, and very tenuous links and stretches to different stuff and all that.
Rude.
I'm going to
just
use
using my creative control card. That's all.
Okay, and I'm going to borrow from that. I'm going to. There's a few different links, to be fair. Goldberg is on this card. You can use Goldberg. Booker T is obviously on this card. It's probably the link I'm going to go with, because there's a link there as well involving Booker T. 2000 WCW is also probably the big link as well. I'm going to step away from the wrestling world and go into a different type of media.
Oh,
in the same way you did with regards to nonsense like Baywatch and all that shite. And I thought
was not nonsense.
I thought
best episodes we've done.
We could have a little bit of a giggle at the 2000 movie Ready to Rumble that features.
I fucking love that movie.
That features all of those WCW stars, my friend,
and John Cena.
Yes, John Cena as well. Yeah. So that's my shite, mate. That's my shite. And I feel a little bit dirty doing it. I'm not going to lie. But I need a win. So there we go. So your options for next week's poll, we have Night of Champions 2015, Seth Rollins versus Sting, and Rollins Cena as well, of course. Some great action there because Rollins is the fucking man. He is amazing. Or we will have to look at the 2000 movie that is David Arquette's in it and various other wrestling personalities.
I think it's Scott Kahn.
About a wrestler and his fans and all sorts of other nonsense. Ready to Rumble. We will review that.
Fun fact, that movie has a line in it that I repeat very, very often. And it's,
okay.
A diamond upside down is a pussy.
Okay. So those are your options there. Magsy, do you want to scan through the chat, see if we've got anything else in there before we depart this evening, my friend?
Yeah, let's have a look where we got up to. We mentioned that Mort is not allowed to discuss little people.
We did.
He also said that you did say the things like dwarf and midget and shrimp.
Did not.
You did.
I did not.
You definitely did. When Sharon said that she wanted Brandon Lee's jacket, she put hopefully not the one that killed him. Can't promise that. And then we had Charlie saying good night. She was off, and then Sharon saying good night to her. So yeah, that's the chat caught up.
Very late, obviously, but not like Charlie. There we go. Brilliant stuff, Magsy. Once you finish coughing your guts up, my friend, John, let everyone know whereabouts they can find you online. No, not yet. Not yet. There we go. He's coughing again. What's going on, mate?
It's Mondays. You know what that means. I cough my ring. So, folks, let me get through this straight away. Find me down here on Twitter at PodFarperMags or on TikTok at MagsAllPods. I won't reply to anything unless I have asked you for questions for the next episode of Mags versus Sa, which I will be doing very, very soon. But other than that, keep tuning into the show. Thank you all for your support. You blow us away every single week with your input into the show. We absolutely love it. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, totally, mate. Totally. It's fantastic. I still can't believe, man. Was it 107 shows in total? 75 live shows?
It's madness.
It's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Monday nights would not be the same. They would not be the same. You could Sharon in the chat. I think Mags is allergic to his podcast stream. It's them title belts, mate. You got an allergy to gold. You're best off sending them down my way. He's coughing again. On that note, then, the best way to find anything I am involved in is via the network that carries this show at SJP World Media on Facebook and Twitter, and all your podcast players, platforms, and providers. Chuck it a follow, a like, a subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, there's so many great shows on the network. Murder and Mind podcast coming back very, very soon. We've got quite a few recorded in the bank, ready to start our second season. The Waiting Room is back being recorded again. Benny Mac and I looking at the Quantum Leap show. Loving doing that again. We've got a few of those in the bank as well. That'll be coming back very soon. Back When with Scottish Danny and Tyler. In the Corner with Benny Mac as well, looking at modern day wrestling. RSH, Nitro Nights. Oh my goodness. The Doctor Who pod as well. There's so much there. And again, even more
something for everyone
all the time. All the time, Magsy. I had people messaging me literally this time last night. Somebody was saying, would you be interested in a show that covers this, this, and this on your network? I was like, yeah, if you want to have a go, message me. Simple as that. I put a tweet out a while back saying this, but if you fancied podcasting, didn't know where to start or anything like that, reach out. We're always here to help. We can help with ideas. Anything you want to do, just let us know. There's a spot for everybody, and there's a show for everybody as well. And that's at SJP World Media. And you can follow this show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that TikTok thingamy at chain_wrestling. That's at chain_wrestling. Magsy, inspired by my pick of Ready to Rumble, I'm off now to watch David Arquette win the WCW World title and see, was it really that bad?
Jesus.
It probably was.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Goodbye, folks.
No.